welcome to the Lost Lives Count. I'm William Pry, aka Nexus. I'm telling you the victims of horror movies, anime, TV shows, action flicks, YouTube videos, YouTube chaos, and beyond. But today I'm doing different. We're honoring a legend, Rob Reiner, a director who gave us Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, A Few Good Men, and the psychological thriller Pressure Cooler that is Misery. This one is not a body count in the hundreds, but it about one man, one cabin, and one fan who took obsession to a whole new level. So, how many lives are shattered in the snowbound silence of misery? Let's find out, and let's get to the lives lost. Movie opens with the MG Lion Roar, the Castle Rock Entertainment. It appears with we enter a Robert Reiner film. I'm actually covered to honor the legendary director whose death was actually a tragic death, along with his wife. We start with Paul Sheldon, played by the late James Cain, who's actually not. He's actually in some other horror films. He actually died in 2023. His new manuscript in the Chicago Lodge, the Silver Creek Lodge. He's celebrated his new book. And he also throws a snowball. And his spark, he still have his spark. He actually drive off the car and drive off because there was a storm hit. The crash happens in. Honestly, this happens in. The crash happened, and just brutal and icy in a moment. And we also have a flashback while Paul lies unconscious, and we meet her agent Spindell, Marshall Spindell. This flashback isn't about his life, past, or memories. It's a bit about his case folder, who actually have his new manuscript and he never leave without it. And Marsha remind him how important that is his book is, and redefine his career that I want that to be remembered for. The flashback exists for one reason: to show the audience the value of the manuscript Annie Wilkes will soon hold hostage. Then we snap back to the present. Paul trapped in the wreckage. Snow. Annie Wilkes, who actually played by on the way. Okay. Okay. Rob Reiner correction to Stephen King. Rob Reiner may have adapted Stephen King once before in Stand By Me. King considered it a huge amount between them. Even King even said Reiner has one of the few directors who truly understood his characters. Why Misery Pacific? It's a psychological story, not a monster story. Reiner wasn't drawn in the supernatural horror, but Misery is grounded in human and terrified it could happen. It two people in a room. One broke, one obsessed. And the danger come from the emotional, special, emotional, not special effect. That exact kind of tension Rob excel at. He wanted to approve. He could direct real suspense. Before Misery was known for comedy like This Is Spinal Tap, coming of age like Stay By Me, romance When Harry Met Sally. He wanted to show Hollywood he could handle thriller and drama. Misery was a chance to step into Hitchcock territory. The story is creator fans. Reiner connected deeply with the themes of fame, creative pressure, fan expectation, and the fear of being owned by your audience. As a filmmaker, he understood the anxiety of trying to move beyond that people expect from you, just like Paul said, tried to escape the series. Kathy Bates said James Caan made it irresistible. Reiner said once he saw Kathy Bates' audition, he knew knew that the movie would work. Her performance is the reason the film is iconic. The result? Reiner turned Misery into a groundbreaking Stephen King adaptation, an Oscar-winning performance, a masterclass of tension, and it also have one of the genre. The violence is way more brutal than the book. The movie turned down the brutality. The book, okay, the Hobble Sea is actually full of nightmares, but in the movie, Eddie just break Paul's ankles. But in the book, Annie just cuts Paul's entire foot with an axe, paralyzes the stump, and blowtorch. The hand scene. Paul keep both hands, but Annie cuts Paul's thumb with a electric carving knife. Kinga want the reader feel trapped with Paul, and Reiner want the audience to feel fear without turning the film into gore. Annie Wilkes is more dangerous in the book. Annie is terrifying, but she has moments of calm, humor, and emotional vulnerability. Annie is, in the book, cold, more unpredictable, more sadist, more homicidal, and more. As she got more, far more. The kill count is higher in the book. The movie keep the kill a minimum. The book, a cop is killed with a lawnmower. More implied deaths in her past. More violent outbursts. This why the Lives Lost count will differ depend on you following the film or novel. I follow the film. The ending completely different. Paul fight Annie and burn the manuscript. Escape later. He sees waitress who remind him of Annie and a psychological echo. The book ended. Paul burned the manuscript, kill Annie, become addicted to painkillers, suffer PTSD, struggle to write again. The book ended more darker and more tragic. Note: the manuscript mattered more. Book. In the movie, the manuscript is symbolic. In the book, it's practically a character. Paul become more obsessed in it in the book and write it, not just to survive, but because he started to believe it's his best work. Annie house is more terrifying in the book. The movie, Annie house is a neat, cozy farmhouse. In the book, filth, rotten food, deaf animal, smell Paul can't escape. It's a prison, not a home. The tone different. The movie intense, character and driven thriller. A psychological torture chamber with no escape. Intentionally, Paul robbed the story to make it more watchable and less extreme. We cut the only flashback in the entire film. Watch the spindle. Paul agent asking why you want to kill Misery. Paul tells her it's not his life anymore. He want to write serious work. He want to move on. The flashback ends. Someone is performing CPR at Paul. He pulled from the wreck and lived out of the snow. And when he wake up, he staring into the face of Annie Wilkes, played by Kathy Bates, who career spam everything from Titanic to Dolores Cabrera, green fried tomatoes, The Water Boy, Primary Colors, About Smith, Richard, Jules, and a dozen more. But here, she is Paul's number one fan. Paul is unconscious for 2 days, and Annie explains she is a nurse as she removed the IV and give him medicine, and insists that they can't go to the hospital and the phones are down. The road is blocked by the blizzard and a likely story, and Paul asks if he able to walk. And they tell him his legs are bruised and broken. He won't able to move anytime soon. Meanwhile, Marshall's looking for him. Paul supposed to Silver Creek Lodge. His daughter has heard from him. No one has seen him. Paul vanish. So she actually called the Sheriff Buster. Back at Annie's house, Annie shaved Paul with a straight razor, telling him she doesn't want to hurt him. She thrilled that he's alive. She loved the Misery novels. Honestly, Misery, the book is actually called Misery, and the main protagonist in the Misery novels is Misery Chastain. Then she sees the new manuscript in the case, and Paul explained that it doesn't have a title yet, and Annie begs to read it, and Paul agrees. Because honestly, the investigating Sheriff Buster and Detective Virginia, who actually is in, I will actually tell you later, but she was in The Mist, who is his wife. Despite him joking otherwise, he actually checking leads and walking through the snow, visit the newspaper office, and try to piece together Paul's last known movements. As they search, Annie Wilkes drive by unnoticed. Back at Annie's house, Annie bring Paul's breakfast in bed, and she introduced him her pig Misery, who is honestly Misery is actually named after the book. She gush over his writing, and she read the manuscript over and over, and she say she doesn't like the cursing. Her husband left her. Her husband died. He dove awake, and she claimed her husband died, and it poured all her love and creativity. And she cracked a show, and he snaps. She actually read ahead, and she discovered that Misery Chastain dies, and he throw a violent fit, screaming, cursing, accusing Paul of being a scum writer. She apologized, and she loved him, and she want to marry someone special again, and she actually thought Paul was the person. Paul tried to escape and crawl out of bed, but Annie locked the door. Sheriff Buster get a call. Marshal Spencer reports that Paul missing. The sheriff begin to suspect foul play. Annie returned to Paul. She tells him she asks God about you, and God give her an answer. She bring his new manuscript, and the only copy. She knows that he never made another one because he's superstitious. She forced him to burn it, and Paul watches life works go up in frames, and Annie pour water on it, smiling. Outside is a helicopter searching the mountains, and they say, the winters are getting shorter every year. It must be the ozone layer. And Paul realized that he completely trapped. Okay, why there a pig in Misery? A pig is named Misery after Paul Sheldon, fictional hero, is show how Annie is obsessed. She runs, but she doesn't just love the book. She builds her entire identity around them. It's a symbol of her loneliness, her instability, her parasocial attachment to Paul, her need to own misery in every form, and the pig is loves. Yes, the pig appeared in both novel and film. She a minor role in, but she exists in the Stephen King original story. The film simply give her more screen time. Why did the movie keep the pig? Rob Reiner kept the pig. It added as dark humor. It added any warp devotion. It added a farmhouse a feel more isolated and strange. It give Annie a pet that mirrors her personality. In one of the moments that suffocated story, Paul doesn't know anything about the ozone rant. Annie goes on, and he trying to survive, and he got his pain medicine, but he hid the pills instead of taking them. Annie sits in the living room watching the dating game, drinking Coke, eating Cheetos, laughing like is normal, and Paul is eating quietly, slipping pills under his mattress when she isn't looking. She bring him a wheelchair and electric razor, telling him she set up a brand new writing studio so he can actually write his next masterpiece, Misery Returns. Misery's Return. She say that will inspire him. Paul spots an hairpin on the floor. He flatter her, pretend to be grateful. Her pocket the pin. He tries write on the cheap. He actually He actually type on the cheap paper, and the ink smudge, and he snap with sarcasm, and saying that he should be appreciated everything she does, and slam the door and lock. As he also slams the cardboard box on his broken legs. Paul waits until she leaves. Then he used the hairpin as a key. He unlocks his door and wheels himself into the hallway. The front door lock, and the telephone fake. Annie is gone, and she at the store. And he almost knocked over a ceramic penguin, but he actually make it face south. That's going to be important later. He sees her memory lane book. That's going to be important later. A shrine dedicated to him. A newspaper clippings, photo, and Mr. album. He find the pain pills. Her and the kitchen, but he can't get inside fully because the wheelchair is too big. He tries another door, lock, and he trap. Any car pull up. Paul races back to his room, sweaty, relocking the door just in time. Annie drop the paper. Given her seconds, give him seconds. He need to hide everything. She enter as see him sweating. He begs for his pills. She give it to him. Them, not knowing what already stole more. Annie ran, so that she'll never get popular because people don't appreciate her for her temper and her ideals. But she tell Paul that whenever he thinks of an ideal, he should think of her. The sheriff investigation. Buster searched through the mountains and finally found the wreck of Mustang, of Paul's Mustang. He pulled the car. Honestly, he actually have a crane to pull it up. The car up. Realized that Paul did crawl out. Someone took him. No, duh. He actually got yanked from his car. Back at Annie Hole, Paul crushes the pills. Break the pills apart and put a piece of paper. He type a single word on. He actually type words continuous. Fuck. He actually and the typewriter, and he hate his paper and hate the situation. And he told him to start over. Honestly, to tell you the truth, Annie went to the theater and watched Rocket Man, which is a horror film. Noted, I did not create Rocket Boy out of Rocket Man. I did create Rocket Boy based on how Rocket Boy can actually soar through the sky. So, if anybody wants to know where I come up with the idea of Rocket Boy, tune in for my live streams. Snow falls outside. Annie reads at the new chapters. She smiles. It better now. It's better. Misery. Honestly, what actually happened is Misery had the same allergy, bee allergy than a certain character in her book, and she actually asked if she would be eaten or wet-fed, and he said, "We'll see." And live. The It's actually more symbolic. It represents Paul's desire to move on from misery. And he forced him to burn it. But force light is emotionally with a match. The manuscript is essential to the entire story because Paul's obsession, lifeline, and sense of control. He started to believe it might be the best thing he ever. Annie makes Paul burn the manuscript early in that story. It's dramatic, but it's at one scene that then the story moves on. In the book, the burn is more intense. Paul is devastated because he truly believes the book is brilliant. Annie forced him to destroy it, something he poured his soul into. It one of the circular brutal moments in the novel. Willard Reiner Misery. Paul writes the new Misery novel because Annie demands it. He doesn't care about the story. He tried to survive, and the writing scenes are shorter and less dedicated. Paul became deeply invested in Ryan Misery Return. He was right as a coping mechanism, a distraction from the pain, a way to stay, a tool to manipulate Annie. The book goes into the detail about his creative process. I already mentioned. Honestly, Paul is addicted to writing. Annie is addicted to misery. Both is obsession and becoming a battle wills not survive. And the quality of manuscript. We don't hear much of the quality of the new misery book, but Annie loves it, but Paul doesn't care. But in the book, Paul realized the new misery novel is shockingly good. He become proud of it and makes the ending even darker because he lose everything. The manuscript as a weapon. The manuscript is burned and gone. It doesn't return as a major plot tool. In the book, Paul used the manuscript to manipulate Annie to buy time, keep her emotionally unstable, and buy his escape. It is a psychological chess peace, Paula keeps writing more chapters and more pages for more misery. She tells himself they have dinner, a special night, while Virginia, played by Fresh Scritt, who actually plays in Misery, in the Mist, which I will actually cover, helps Sheriff Buster as the Misery novel spread out, trying to understand Paul's mind and Annie obsession. Dinner with Annie. Paul eats with Annie. She all dressed, hair done, makeup, acting like a day. The meatloaf is actually fresh tomatoes, a toast to misery, and Paul crushed pills and put Annie wine. But Annie clumsy as she is, accidentally drops the glass, breaking it as she never drank the drug wine. Riot montage. Annie demands more chapters, and Paul keep writing. As Paul and Buster reads the misery books and tried to understand and try to understand the mind of Paul. Annie entered Paul's room, depressed about the rain. She said it gave her the bruise, the only human moment she ever shown. She said Paul loved him and the rest of him. Honestly, to tell you the truth, the rain reminds her of her husband that died. Paul tries to want what she want to hear. She revealed the gun as she admitted of using it to shoot her and him outside of Ports. Paul investigate. Honestly, Paul actually wheels around the house and see Annie's scrapbook, memory lane. Calls Wilkes, who actually is Annie's father, die off screen, pushed downstairs by his daughter, 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 53 seconds. Same thing with Lisa Marie Duncan, a top nursing student who actually fall involved in a steel and concrete at 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 06 seconds. Michael Banks in a coma, but his wife Elizabeth died in a car crash, 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 33 seconds. Baby Lucia died of suffocation, 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 42 seconds. Michael died of Michael Charles Dosu, infant death from flu-like symptoms, died at 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 47 seconds. David Martin, Jack Smith, and Ann Jones, all found dead, 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 58 seconds. And all of them were found. Annie questioned but never convicted. The newspaper showed a nurse behind bars, which is actually Annie. Paul returns to bed and got a knife. But Annie returns with her favorite song as she tells Paul, "I'll see you in the morning." Actually, Paul I see you in the morning. He wakes up and Annie drink with a sedative. Drift off like Homer Simpson. Drugs. He wakes up tied to the bed, and Annie tell him he never been out. Annie tell him he been out of the room twice. She actually has the knife and his key and everything. Then she prepared to tell him the story about how how to keep coal miners from working without hobbling them. And one swing, two, and another. Buster gets close. Annie goes down, and Buster reads more articles and finds the same quotes. Annie used the words for words. He realized that Paul is alive, and he drives to Annie's house. Annie lies him. Annie actually fight with Paul and got him with drugs. Drugs. And he lies to him that Paul never been here. That he actually told him everything about him and going to write a new book. He asked for Coco. She pretended to be polite. Buster hears noise and Paul is actually down in the basement. They're going to get him out. And Buster called. And he actually found him at 1 hour 33 minutes and 39 seconds. And he shoot the Buster from behind. Kill him instantly. No remorse. She say it was bound to happen sooner or later. Annie tell she had 2 bullets, one for her and one for him. Paul gets an ideal. He tell her he loves her. He promised to give her misery back to her. He write the finale to Misery, and he needs a cigarette, a match, and Donna Permagre and 2 glasses. He actually need 2 glasses, and he went to get the 2 glasses, and he actually did the smart thing of lie through, and Paul and when Annie come back and say, "You want to know what in this?" It's too late. Paul, you can't. What? I learned this from you. And Paul burned the mask. Annie screamed, and he hit her with the typewriter. He fight with her. She shoot him in the arm, and she fired the second bullet. Paul forced her to eat the pages. She fall and hit her head on the typewriter, but she's still alive. She lunged again. Paul grabbed the little metal pig statue of Misery and hits her in the head at 1 hour 42 minutes and 11 seconds. Annie finally goes down. 18 months later, Paul write his new book, Higher Education. Martha Spindell, why he write an autobiography about what happened. Paul say that he think about Annie, and the witcher approach another fan. She say she love his work, and Paul smiles politely. That nice, and the music plays. How many lives lost did the Misery have? Let's find out and get to the numbers. Oh, I am your biggest fan. Can I have your autograph? Can I have your skin? Nexus bot, please. You're acting like Annie Wilkes from the movie. Please stop. I'm sorry. I actually have I have a problem, do I? Yes, you do. Let's just get to the numbers. I have a problem shooting you. Let's just get to the numbers. Damn it. Not in the shoulder. 10 people lost their lives in Misery. All connected to Annie Wilkes. And one final death to Paul Sheldon. With a run time of 107 minutes, that gives us one life lost every hour at 10.7 minutes. With the great axe for coolest death goes to Buster, who's shot behind. Fans love it for the moment because it's an on-screen death for the entire movie. It's the most shocking, sudden, and brutal effective without being graphic. The stakes skyrocket. The moment Buster dies, the audience realize that, oh no one is coming for Paul. Critics often calls this the film's oh no turning point, and Kathy Bates called emotionless reaction afterwards is unforgettable. The would-be accent for lamest death goes to Captain Banks' car accident. This is barely a rester. It's only in a newspaper clipping, not a scene. No build-up, no emotion, nothing sit back to latch fans don't remember it. Critics often point out the scrap of death are instant lore, but it's not there. But they are real movie kills. And that's it. Misery was released in 1986, directed by Paul Reiner, a filmmaker who will always remember to shaping some of the great thrillers, dramas ever made. Next month, I'm diving into the Evil Dead franchise again, since it was a kill count once and will be a lives lost count. I'm William Pry, aka Nexus. This has been the lives lost count.